the Spirit today. We're going to move right on to it, and you're going to get, I get like 3 extra minutes. So in preacher time, that's good for at least 10, right? But if you got a Bible today, we are back in the book of Revelation. We're continuing our series looking at the 7 churches of Revelation. We've already run some of them off. If you're wanting to go to children's church, 3rd grade and under, Miss Terry's heading that way. Now, as you're turning to Revelation, I want to ask you, has anybody here ever been encouraged by someone? It's okay, you can raise your hands. If you haven't been encouraged, then I need to come give you a hug because this is already going to be a bad morning. Now, all of us have received encouragement from someone. Sometimes it's from a coach. Sometimes maybe it's a teacher, a loved one, a parent. We've all received encouragement from someone. And we love it, don't we? There's not a person in here that goes, I just hate it when people encourage me. I just hate it when they give me a pat on the back. Oh, it just ruins my day when they talk good about me. There's not a one of us in here that would ever say that, is there? No, we like it. We like feeling affirmed. We like somebody to come and notice what we're doing. Well, I was looking up some things, and here's a few quotes on encouragement. I thought these were pretty applicable. This one says, treat a man as he is, and he will remain as he is. Treat a man as he can and should be, and he'll become as he can and should be. That's pretty good words there, isn't it? If we encourage someone, we're pushing them to be all that they can be. Here was another one. It says, a pat on the back, though only a few vertebrae removed from a kick in the pants, is miles ahead in results. Boy, ain't that the truth. You ever had somebody give you a compliment, and you would just about walk through a brick wall for them, wouldn't you? If they encourage you, you just do about anything for them. Now, if they try and push you, well, you're going to dig your heels in. So encouragement works. Here's one more that I thought was good. I've yet to find the man, however exalted his station, who did not do better work and put forth greater effort under a spirit of approval than under a spirit of criticism. Man, isn't that the truth? We all know that there's been times as we've gone through this series, and we've looked at the churches in Revelation, where Jesus has had a pretty sharp word of correction or rebuke for the churches that he's addressing. But this morning, he chooses a different tactic. Instead of having a word of rebuke, instead of having a word of criticism for them, he looks at the church of Philadelphia and says, they just need a word of encouragement. They need that pat on the back. They need that push to keep going and not to give up. And that's what we're going to look at, is what he says to this church in Philadelphia. So if you would, stand with me as we read out of Revelation chapter 3. We're going to start in verse 7. It says, to the angel of the church in Philadelphia write, these are the words of him who is holy and true, who holds the key of David. What he opens, no one can shut. And what he shuts, no one can open. I know your deeds. See, I have placed before you an open door that no one can shut. I know that you have little strength, that you have kept my word and not denied my name. I will make those who are of the synagogue of Satan, who claim to be Jews, though they are not, but are liars, I will make them come and fall down at your feet and acknowledge that I have loved you. Since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come upon the whole world to test those who live on the earth. I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have so that no one will take your crown. Him who overcomes, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God. Never again will he leave it. I will write on him the name of my God, the name of the city of my God, the new Jerusalem, which is coming down out of heaven from my God. And I will also write on him my new name. He who has an ear, let him hear what the Spirit says to the churches. You may be seated. Now we notice quickly that the tone of the letter to Philadelphia is quite different than the ones that we've seen in most of the other churches so far. Jesus does not come out guns a-blazing telling them, I have this against you. No, instead Jesus says, I want to encourage you. I want to push you forward. I want to pat you on the back and say, keep going, good job. We see already that the tone is different. But our text tells us that Jesus notices or knows 2 things about the church. Look what it said. What did he say first? I know what? your deeds. I know your deeds. I know your work. Now, it's not the first time we've seen that phrase. A lot of the churches, Jesus has said, I know your deeds. And then what follows? But I have this against you. So what's it tell us about their deeds? They weren't measuring up. But this church, the church in Philadelphia, it says, I know your deeds. And there's no rebuke. There's no correction. So what's that tell us about their deeds? They were doing what they're supposed to do. They had taken the words of Ephesians 2:10 to heart when it says, we are God's workmanship, created in Christ Jesus to do what? Good works. This church got that. They understood that. And they were doing the good works. Jesus says, I look at you. I see your deeds. I see all the good things you're doing. Good job. And he pats them on the back, puts his arm around, gives them that shoulder squeeze. He wants them to know, I've noticed. But it's not the only thing that Jesus noticed about him. He says, I know your deeds. But look what else he goes on to say. But I know that you don't have much strength. You don't have much strength, but even though you don't have much strength, you have steadfastly persevered. You've kept doing the right things, even when it was difficult, even when you felt like you had nothing left to offer, you kept doing the right thing. And I just want you to know, I've noticed. Jesus is encouraging the church. He's telling them, I've taken notice. See, what Jesus noticed was that for years, the Philadelphia church had been faithful. They'd held fast through all the trials, all the hardships, all the battles, both spiritual and physical. The church in Philadelphia had been destroyed several times over. They were in a very earthquake-prone region, and the plain where they sat was destroyed several times. Archaeologists have told us that there's evidence that the majority of the buildings in the city showed significant cracks from earthquake damage. Now, can you imagine, we just had a couple of big hurricanes come through. If next week, just as the people in Houston, just as the people in Florida start to clean up the mess and get their lives together, another one rolls through. And just about the time you start to clean up that mess, another one rolls through. That's where the church in Philadelphia is. Every time they kind of get their feet under them, every time something starts to go their way, down they go again. But even despite all the physical stuff, there was also spiritual battles. They had people trying to sway them back and forth all the time. It seemed like they're constantly under attack. And Jesus says, I've noticed. I see it. Even though you're small in number, even though you don't have much strength, I've seen the battles you fought. I've seen the hardships you faced, and I've noticed that you've not once given up. Not once have you denied my name. Good job. He's encouraging them for being faithful. But he goes farther than that. He doesn't just say, I've noticed. As nice as that is, that doesn't go very far. If he left it there, they'd been going, I'm glad somebody noticed. But Jesus doesn't just stop there. He says, I noticed what's going on, but I'm also going to give you some hope. And he encourages them by giving them some promises. And I'm just going to tell you, the promises that he makes to the church at Philadelphia, I believe, are universal to those who hold fast to his teaching, to those who are faithful to the mission. I believe we can claim these same promises. So what are they? Well, let's look at them. The first promise he makes to the church at Philadelphia is this. There is an open door. Look what it says there. Verse 8 says, see, I know your deeds. See, I've placed before you an open door that no one can shut. There's an open door for ministry. Now, for a church who is struggling to survive, for a church who is just hanging on in a hostile environment, this is a big statement. Your ministry is not ended. I don't care how small you are. I don't care how many battles you fought. Your ministry is not ended. I have placed before you an open door. The work continues. It did not matter what the opposition said. It didn't matter what the Jews told them. It didn't matter what those of the cult of the emperor told them. Ministry continued. The door was open. Evangelism still was needing to take place. Things had not gotten so dire around them that all hope for future gains was lost. He says, there is an open door. And folks, I think we can relate to the church of Philadelphia. We have fought trials. We have fought a number of battles and faced hardships. And yes, we can look back and we can go, man, our numbers are smaller than they used to be. Man, our city is smaller than it used to be. But can I tell you something? There's still an open door. You know why? Because the one that we serve placed it there. There's an open door. Ministry continues. I love what he says next even more. There's an open door. What? That no one can shut. Ooh. There's an open door that no one can shut. Did you notice when we opened this passage how Jesus introduced himself? Look back at it. These are the words of him who is holy and true, who holds what? The key of David. What he opens, no one can shut. And what he shuts, no one can open. See, the door cannot be shut. The door to evangelism, the door to ministry cannot be shut because we serve the one who holds the key. And that is encouraging for the church of Philadelphia. It didn't matter the opposition they were facing. It didn't matter what the voices kept chirping in and sounding off on. It didn't matter what they had to say. They served the one who held the key. It didn't matter what their enemy said. Ministry was going to continue. They could not shut the door. It didn't matter how bad the persecution got. It didn't matter how hot the heat got turned up. Ministry was going to continue because they served the one who held the key. Oh, that sounds all well and good, doesn't it? But you know what else that means? When he says, I've placed before you an open door that no one can shut. We're all on board when we talk about, that's right, our enemies can't shut that door. You know who else can't shut that door? You and I. We do not have the power to shut and lock that door. We do not have the power to thwart God's plan and say, God, we've done enough. God, I've put in my time. God, we're done. He says, no, you're not. You don't have the authority. I guarantee you the church of Philadelphia is tired. History tells us they were one of the smallest New Testament congregations that we had. They faced things over and over again. I know they were tired. But even then, they didn't have the authority to say, we're done. Putting it on cruise control, I'm set. Jesus says, I've placed before you an open door, and no one can shut it. You know what that tells me? God's plan will be carried out. His plan will move forward. The nations will be reached. Not to get too far off subject here. You start reading about some of the things that have to come to pass before Jesus comes back. You know what one of them is? The nations are going to be reached. He's going to be proclaimed to every nation. Folks, do you get it? It's a runaway train. It's not being stopped. Here's my question for us. Are we going to be a part of it? Are we going to be a part of it? The plan is not going to stop. It's not going to go, well, First Baptist Church decided they're not going to do it, so I guess we won't reach the nations. No, God is going to reach the nations. Will we be a part of it? He's looking at the church in Philadelphia and saying, I've placed an open door before you. There is ministry all around you. And you're still going to be part. I still want you to play a part. But you can't shut that door. Only I can. So it doesn't. There's an open door, which is refreshing and encouraging us because sometimes we feel like maybe we've reached the end of our usefulness. We've gone just as far as we can go. I And we need to hear, no, I still got one for you. No, hang in there. I still got a place for you. That's what the church of Philadelphia heard. There's an open door. Keep going. So what's the next promise? Our evangelistic effectiveness is not based on our strength. Look what it says at the end of verse 8. It says, I know that you have little strength, yet you have kept my word and have not denied my name. I know that you have little strength. I know that you're not big in number. I know that you're not big in resources. I know that you don't have a lot of the stuff that some of these other churches can boast about. The ministry still continues. Isn't it encouraging to realize? For some of us, maybe we haven't realized it yet. Maybe today's the day that we do realize that. That our effectiveness as a church, our effectiveness as individuals to reach people for the Lord does not rest on my strength. Do you get that? It doesn't rest on my ability. It doesn't rest on how much knowledge I have. It doesn't rest on how much passion I have. It has not anything to do with me. Our evangelistic effectiveness is not based in any way on my strength. It's always been and always will be God working in us. Paul talks about this in 2 Corinthians 12:9. As he's relating this conversation that he's had with the Lord told him, says, my power is made perfect in your weakness. Well, that just seems backwards, doesn't it? Why wouldn't it be that Saul's strength is what brought God glory? Why is it Paul's weakness that brings God glory? But that's what God says. My power is made perfect in your weakness. You see, I think there's too many times that we convince ourselves that we can't do the work to be done because we're looking at it like it's all up to us. Like it's our strength that's responsible. Like it's our ability that's going to get things moving. Folks, what that passage tells us is that could not be farther from the truth. It's our weaknesses that God glories in. Why? Because our strength can and surely will be exhausted. There's going to come a point where you get to the end of yourself. You have nothing left of you to give. But you know something? Even though our strength will be exhausted, God's never will. His strength is eternal, everlasting, never will end. And that's why God is telling Paul that his strength, his power is made perfect in his weakness, because it's then, when Paul has nothing left to show for it, when Paul has nothing left to give, that God's strength shines through. Folks, the church of Philadelphia felt that way. They didn't have much to give. They felt like they were at the end of their rope. But instead of using that as an excuse to say, I'm stopping, instead of using it as an excuse to say, I'm quitting, we've done all that we can, we ought to look at that and say, praise God, the Lord's going to be magnified. Praise God, people are going to see Him and His strength and not me and mine. That's what He's telling them. See, we shouldn't see our lack of strength as a reason to quit. Instead, we ought to see it as an opportunity for God to be magnified. When we give God the little bit that we have, people have no choice but to go. How in the world did they do that? There's no way they should have been able to pull that off. There is no way that that should have happened. And you know what our response gets to be? The Lord did it. And He gets glory. People see Him in all of His magnificence. That is the beauty behind God's power being made perfect in our weakness. Our community, our nation, our world can be reached. Somebody may say, but we can't do that. There's just too many. Even if we just look around our city, we say, There's just too many. We can't do it. Folks, when I hear that, I can't help but think, but whose strength are we depending on? When I look at our city, when I look at our state, when I look at our nation, when I look at our world, whose strength am I depending on? When I say that it can't be done, what I'm really saying then is that God can't do it. Because if God's strength is really made perfect in my weakness, then when I say it can't be done, it can't be reached, it's too hard, what I'm really saying is God can't do it. Folks, if I went around and asked you one by one individually, there's not a one of you who would say that God couldn't do it. There's not a one of us that would say he's too weak to accomplish it. There's not a one of us that say he doesn't have the strength to get it done. If I asked you one by one individually if we had the strength, I dare say 90% plus would say, no, we can't do it. I look at you and say, praise God. It's when we realize that I can't do it. When we realize that it's not about me and my strength and what I bring to the table, it forces me to depend on God and His strength. The church at Philadelphia had gotten to the point where it's getting really difficult. And Jesus comes and He offers a word of encouragement saying, I know that you have little strength. I see it. But I'm glad that you figured out that it's me. I'm the one who pushes you forward, and you have not denied my name because of it. You have continued on doing what you need to do. Folks, we're the same way. When we realize that our strength, our effectiveness in evangelism is not based on anything I bring to the table, but on God alone, we are unleashed to reach the nations. So what else did He promise? Third thing is this: God will be glorified even amongst our enemies. Look at verse 9. It says, I will make those who are of the synagogue of Satan, who claim to be Jews, though they are not, but are liars, I will make them come and fall down at your feet and acknowledge that I have loved you. Now, some of you hear the last part of that passage, you're like, sign me up, I am ready for that. Where's that going to be? We're going to line up here at the altar and have them all come fall at our feet? Is it going to be out here in front of the courthouse? Wherever it is, you name the time and the place, I will be there for that. I can't wait for my enemies to come fall down at my feet. And miss the point if that's it. The point of having our enemies fall down at our feet is nothing about us. It's not about going, man, look, we picked a winner. Again, it's all about God. God tells His church at Philadelphia, I see what you're going through. I see all of the hardships that you're facing. I see all the persecution you get from both sides. He's talking about the synagogue of Satan. We've seen this phrase before when we talked about the church at Smyrna. He mentioned the synagogue of Satan. These Jews who are trying to impose their will on the church, who are trying to make them do all the things that they thought it took to be a good Jew and thus a believer in God. And He says, no, stop it. He goes, but I know you're getting pressure from them. I know they're hounding you relentlessly to do all that you have to do to get back in fellowship in the synagogue. He goes, don't do it. I'll take care of them. It wasn't just the synagogue of Satan. It wasn't just the Jews. They've got this cult of the emperor. These people who literally deified the Roman emperor, and they had shrines set up to worship him. He knows that they're facing the same pressure as the people in Smyrna to bow the knee to the emperor, to worship him as God. And he says, don't do it, because one day I will take care of them. I will force them to bow. It reminds me of Philippians 2:10. Every knee shall bow. One day, every knee will bow. Not before me, not before you. One day, every knee will bow and acknowledge that Jesus is the King of Kings and Lord of Lords. One day, every knee will bow, even those of our enemies. Again, we sit here and we go, yes, I can't wait. Sign me up for that day. But you know what the point of that day is? it's going to reveal to everyone what we already know. It's going to reveal to everyone for all time and all creation that Jesus is who He claimed to be, and He did what He claimed to do. And in that moment, it's all going to be crystal clear. We've all had people who have made life difficult on us. We've all faced people who hurt us and made life just miserable. But the church at Philadelphia, this was a big word of encouragement when they realized that the very ones who are all around them will one day see Jesus for who He is. The ones that are giving the church a hard time because they're worshiping this Jesus, one day they will be justified. And Jesus says, they're going to have to acknowledge that I have loved you. Did you catch that? Not that they will acknowledge that you have loved me. They will acknowledge that I have loved you. That through it all, through everything they've thrown at you, through all the hard times, I've still loved you. I still approve of you. I still count you as one of mine. Folks, we can take that same word of encouragement. I don't care what's going on in your life. I don't care how bad it is, who it is. One day, God will be glorified among our enemies. It's going to happen. We need to hear that. Because it changes our attitude of how we look at things. It changes our attitude of how we look at people. When we realize that one day God's going to set all things right. And even in our enemies, even those who make life miserable for us, we'll have to give God His due. That helps us in dark times. There's another promise that Jesus makes. That is that we will be protected from God's wrath. Look at verse 10. Since you have kept my command to endure patiently, I will also keep you from the hour of trial that is going to come upon the whole world to test those who live on the earth. Now, if you want a verse that gets people to talk, this is one of those verses. You want to pick a verse that gets people to debate and debate hotly, this is one of those verses. I'm not here this morning to debate with you. I'm not here this morning to see just how deep we can go down this wormhole. But here's what I do want to talk about. Jesus makes a promise to the church that you will not face the wrath that is coming. You will not have to endure that. Now, there's a couple of prevailing views. There's what we call pre-tribulation. And we know the tribulation is this epic time of suffering where God's wrath is going to be poured out on a sinful world, and it will just be unlike anything anybody's ever seen. The pre-tribulation view says that Christians, the church, are going to be raptured out. They're going to be pulled away to heaven before this. We will not go through any of it. There's another view, post-tribulation, that says the Lord has told us all along we're going to face troubles. The Lord has told us that there are things that are going to be harmful. There are things that you're going to face that are difficult. And these people, the post-tribulationists, say, we're going to live through the rapture. But when he's talking about in this verse is that I will protect you. You won't feel the effects of God's wrath that's being poured out. You'll be present but not hurt. They point to things like the plagues in Egypt, where some of them affected both the Egyptians and the Israelites, but they were protected from it. And folks, I told you, we could sit here and we could debate this all day. That's not my purpose. Because I don't really care where you fall on it right now. Regardless of how you interpret this, here's the main point. The promise is clear that Jesus is going to protect and preserve His faithful. Folks, that's encouraging for us. As we look around, it don't take more than 5 minutes watching the news to realize how bad things are around us. And to realize that even though we live in the middle of horrible situations, to realize that we live in the middle of a godless society, To have the encouragement to say that our God is going to protect and preserve His faithful. It doesn't mean that things are going to be easy. It doesn't mean that it's always going to be harmless. But it does mean that He's always there. He's always looking out for us. He's always present. That's encouraging. When I was working through this, it reminded me the first time my nephew ever came and spent the night with me. He'd kill me. He's 15 now. He was 4 at the time. And he was terrified of the dark. Now eventually I wised up and go, oh, I have an old flashlight here. Take this. But before that, he wouldn't even walk to the back of the house to go to the bathroom. Why? Because he was afraid of what was around him. But you know what he would do? He'd grab my hand and we'd walk back there together. There was courage. He found strength in the fact that he wasn't alone. And it didn't matter what was around him. The boogeyman could have jumped out, or the Grinch, because we watched the Snow movie a lot, as he called it. He could have jumped out. It wouldn't have mattered, because I was there with him. That's the encouragement that he wants us to take from this passage. Whatever takes place, I am right there with you. You are not alone. I will protect and preserve the faithful. Folks, as we face all kinds of situations, as we face all kinds of people, we can take that promise to heart. God protects and preserves His faithful. He carries us through even in the rough times of life. There's one more promise that I want us to look at. We'll close with this one. That is that God honors His faithful. Look with me in verse 11. It says, I am coming soon. Hold on to what you have so that no one will take your crown. Him who overcomes, I will make a pillar in the temple of my God. Never again will he leave it. I will write on him the name of my God and the name of the city of my God, the New Jerusalem, which is coming down out of heaven from my God. And I will also write on him my new name. It says, I'll make you a pillar. I'll write my name on you. You're going to be a focal point. You're going to be what people see. God honors His faithful. This church who had been in turmoil, this church who had no sense of normalcy because things were always being overturned and uprooted every time they turned around, they're going to be a pillar, the source of strength that's holding up the temple. People are going to see them as the foundation that they've always been. Folks, sometimes we get the cart before the horse. We're all about God honoring the faithful. We just wish it was right now. God, draw attention to me. God, pat me on the back, let everybody see what I just did. God says, one day the time will come and I will honor the faithful. And I will lay it out there for everybody to see all that you've done. I will lay it out there to see just who you are and what you have been, foundational to my plan. God comes and says, I know it's difficult right now. I know your life is miserable right now. I know you feel like you're always getting kicked down. One step forward, 2 steps back. I know that's how you feel. But one day, the whole world will see exactly who you are. One day, the whole world will see your faithfulness because I will exalt you. I will honor you. And nobody will be able to deny it in that moment. Hope's a powerful thing, isn't it? If we believe there's hope, we'll keep going. If we believe there's hope, we'll press forward. If we're on a golf course, we believe there's one more birdie to be had. We'll play another 36 holes just to try and find it. Folks, hope is a powerful thing, and that's what He gives them in this last promise. I will honor you. I will exalt you one day. One day, all things are going to be made right. Folks, as I read that promise, I just want to look at you and say, don't give up. Don't give up. Embrace the mission that we've been called to. Knowing that one day, the one that we serve, the one who has opened this door before us, is going to make all things right. And all the things that we see around us, all the distractions, all the hardships, they're going to be gone. We have that hope. Don't give up. Let's pray.